Hello there, here we are again, and this is part 2 of chapter 3. No, wait. I think of chapter 4 within part 3. Okay, Tom said sharply, "Look at the wiffle bird. What's the matter with her?" She had been sitting quietly on the silk supporting rope of the bridge. Now she was strutting up and down stiffly, as if hypnotized. What on earth? The professor rose frantically, looked up, and recoiled in horror. "Look out!" he shouted. The sky suddenly became dark. The children had a glimpse of a monstrous head with a huge, sharp-pointed beak coming straight towards them. It was the Gaius Scutus. That's hard to say. Too late! The wiffle bird flew into the air. Startled out of her trance, she screamed, "Mayday!" The children flung themselves clear of the slashing talons. The professor bellowed in dismay. "No!" he cried. "You shall not do this!" In desperation, he found strength. As the Gaius Scutus banked around for another attack, he took a firm grip on his umbrella. When the huge bird flew past him, he swiped at it with all his might, giving it a resounding thwack, and sent it careening off course. He yelled to the children, "Run! Run to the palace!" "What about you?" Ben cried, horrified. "I shall be all right, I promise you. Now go on." The children ran towards the bridge. The professor jumped up and down and waved his arms wildly. "Come on, you devil," he called out to the giant bird. "Let's see what you're made of, you big dumb pea-brained bully." The Gaius Scatus was diverted by the noisy, dancing figure. It swooped down for another attack. As the children clattered onto the slats of the bridge, the professor put his back to the rock and, using his umbrella as a sword, he fought the monster with the last ounce of his strength. The Gaius Scutus screamed with outrage. One giant claw reached out for and tried the tired, desperate man. It picked him up as though he were a rag doll and dashed him against the rock. The professor fell to the ground in an unconscious heap. The children were running so hard for the palace they did not see what was happening behind them. Ben was in front with Lindy, Tom was close behind, and the wiffle bird was just above his head. They had not realized that the bridge was so long. Their frantic chase made it sway dreadfully, and Lindy gasped as she glimpsed the boiling, foaming river thousands of feet below. "Ben, don't go so fast," she cried. Her foot slipped between the slats and she crashed to her knees, crying out in pain. Ben turned to help her and suddenly screamed with fear, "Tom, look out!" The Gaius Scutus was only inches away from Tom. There was a rushing wind that moved the bridge violently from side to side. Ben and Lindy clung desperately to the guide ropes. Tom felt two sharp claws hook into the shoulders of his jacket, and he was lifted high out over the chasm. The wiffle bird went berserk. With a shriek, she rocketed towards the Gaius Scutus, aiming straight for its eyes. Her brilliant feathers momentarily blinded the monster, and it flapped desperately back over the bridge. Ben scrambled to his feet and flung his arms around Tom's legs just as he passed overhead. The Gaius Scutus pulled, and Ben hung on with all his might. The wiffle bird attacked again and again. Sick with fear, Lindy managed to cry, "Undo your jacket, Tom! Get out of it!" Tom heard her. He plucked at the buttons of his coat and raised his arms. He slid out of the sleeves and crashed onto the bridge just as the wiffle bird screamed, "Run for your life!" She flew at the Gaius Scutus again. The children picked themselves up and raced the last 100 yards to the huge, burnished gates. Then a terrible thing happened. The confused Gaius Scutus was trying to rid itself of Tom's jacket. The giant wings were thrashing, and the wiffle bird was helplessly caught up in the whirlwind. She received a mighty blow that knocked her to the bridge, where she lay horribly still. Tom gave an agonized cry and raced back to her side. "It's all right, wiffle bird. I'm here. I've got you. It's all right." He picked her up gently. But Ben was yelling, "Tom, come on!" Tom looked up and saw that the Gaius Scutus was coming at him once again. He began to run. It was a desperate pace. The three children stumbled off the swaying bridge and under the tall archway with the Gaius Scutus only a few feet behind them. "The doors! Close the doors!" Ben flung himself against one side, and Lindy and Tom pushed hard against the other. With a mighty clang, the great bronze portals closed, and the enraged Gaius Scutus slammed into them. The earth trembled, but the doors held. The children leaned against the cool metal fighting to regain their breath. When they had recovered sufficiently to turn around and see where they were, they received yet another shock. Standing in front of them was the Proc. Oh my gosh. I'll see you next time. Bye.